Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's Weedle, and I'm here with a crew perk and crew training, how they're changing it in patch 1.26 to kind of give you a quick guide on what to expect. Now, they are on phase 2 of their testing. They have not changed any of the crew skills, and I think kind of at this point, it's more or less going to be safe to say what you see is what we're going to get, at least very close to it. I'm not expecting any major changes. Now, when patch 1.26 hits, they have said there's going to be a button where you can reset all your crew skills with a single button on every tank. I don't know where that button's going to be, but just in case you don't see it, you will be able to reset your crew skills for free for the first 30 days. So I look forward to doing that and playing around with some of these crew skills. I have been experimenting with some on the test server, so I'll let you know if on some of them. But one thing that is universal among all your crew members for major skill perks is Brothers in Arms, Repairs, and Concealment. You cannot get any of these three on the bonus perks, which is the secondary crew skills. So to kind of put that in perspective, we will show you here. If you go to on like this is your loader, you don't see those three crew skills. So just keep that in mind as you're trying to train these. If you didn't take it Brothers in Arms on your primary crew skill, you're not going to get on your secondary crew skill, so you're going to want that. Um, that being said, some of the crew skills have remained the same, though they have added some new ones, and most of the new ones are pretty good. Like they put some good thought into it. Um, Brothers in Arms is the same, Repairs is the same, Concealment's the same, Recon still increases your view range. This is still a good crew skill. Uh, Emergency. This is a new crew skill. When fully trained, it increases the efficiency bonus by 5% for 15 seconds after receiving damage. Any frontline tank, this is going to be a really good crew skill on. If you're receiving damage by RD or anything else consistently, yes, this is a good crew skill. It's not really one that you would want to prioritize in like a Leopard 1 or a Sniper or something you played in at the back of the map where you're not getting shot very often. I wouldn't take this. Mentor, I know no one that takes this. It's basically a wasted crew skill in my opinion. Coordination, when fully trained, increases aim speed by 12.5% for 15 seconds after you spot an enemy vehicle. I want to say this: when you spot an enemy vehicle, um, which means if someone else spots that enemy vehicle, you do not get this perk. So keep that in mind. This is not going to be good for like your backline snipers. I wouldn't take it. So because other tanks are probably doing the spotting for you. So overall, this is kind of a trap for people. Just be careful when you take it. Sound detection. I think they have changed this from the light server, but essentially it just tells you where the artillery shells coming in and kind of can give you a little bit of heads up with direction and stuff. But the other effect is decreases the negative effect of a stun by 10%. Now, this is interesting, and I'll have to kind of figure out how well this is working. But basically, this does not decrease the duration of your stun, but the effect. So I think stuns kind of increase like your um, reload speed by like 30% and your gun dispersion by like 40%. It's basically horrible, just absolutely debilitating to your tank. This will decrease that by 10%. Kind of a nice crew skill. Practicality, when fully trained, decreases consumable cooldown time by 10%. So basically, your repair kits, your med kits will have 10% less on their cooldown. Quite nice. Um, real quick, let's go over some of these others. For your gunner, you still have the main three. Snapshot still in there. Deadeye still in there. Designated target. Now they have changed this out a little bit. So basically they've combined a couple of crew skills. And Eagle Eye is no longer in the game. It's now a part of designated target. Um, basically increases the time that a tank is visible to you by 2 seconds when you're in the gunner's view. So whenever you're zoomed in. And enables the identification of damaged modules. So basically that's the old Eagle Eye perk. Just allows you to see what's been damaged versus if it's an ammo rack or a gun or anything like that. Not a bad crew skill overall. Um, Concentration, when fully trained, decreases the gun dispersion of a stationary vehicle by 3.5%. Pretty good crew skill, honestly. Just makes your gun just a little bit more accurate. Quick aiming, when fully trained, increases aiming speed and turret traverse by 2.5%. So I want to say be careful when you take this, because on some tanks on turret traverse, the gun dispersion just blooms out really big. Those tanks, like think Caliban. If you've ever played the Caliban, anytime you just nudge the turret over, it just blooms out really far. So going 2%, 2.5% faster may not necessarily be a good thing. But this could overall be a pretty decent crew skill depending on the tank. Armorer. So the way I understand this is it's going to reduce the damage potential damage and the minimal potential damage by plus or 5 um, percent and decreases gun dispersion by 1.5%. I think this is going to be somewhat of a trap for people. So the way I understand this, and if you disagree with me in the comments, please let me know. But let's say if your alpha damage, alpha damage roll was 100, and your average penetration roll was 100. Normally, with the plus minus roll that we get, it's 25%. So your max roll could be 125, your max penetration roll could be 125, and your minimum could be 75. 75. With this, the way I understand this is your maximum roll would be 120 and your minimum roll would be 80. Um, if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. But overall, I think this is somewhat of a trap for people. I wouldn't take it. So, moving on to our driver, we do have some more crew skills for it as well. Same thing at the top. Those have not changed. Clutch braking has not changed. Smooth ride is still the same. They have changed off-road driving, and in Wargaming's fashion, they're not really clear what they're doing. I don't like the wording of this. When fully trained, reduces speed lost on moderately soft terrain by 5%. Reduces speed loss on soft terrain to 100% of the moderately soft terrain resulting value. The way I read this is if you lose, let's say you gain 2 kilometers an hour on moderately soft terrain from this perk, you would go 2 miles an hour, kilometers an hour faster on soft terrain. But here's the thing. There's almost no soft terrain left in the game. They've taken most of it out, except for like those little waterways that you can kind of go up to. The swamp on Corellia, I think, is still soft terrain, and Live Oaks if you go to the water area there. But largely, other than that, there is no actual soft terrain. Everything's pretty much moderately soft. So overall, not a bad crew skill, but this would be a low priority for me. Let's talk about reliable placement. Okay, so when fully trained, increases HE shell damage absorption by 10% and reduces the damage from falling by 30%. While I don't really fall much in the game, I do want to talk about the HE shell absorption because I did do some testing on this. This does not affect penetrations. So if you're at a 4005 and you think this is going to reduce the damage you take from HE damage with all those people that are pinned in your turret by 10%, no, it does not work that way. However, it does work for splash damage. So overall, not a bad crew skill. Control impact, basically if you ram a lot of tanks, you want to take this. It's the same as it's been. And then you have engineer. When fully trained, increases in your forward and reverse speed by 1 kilometer and the damage penalty to an engine by 20%. Very nice crew skill. I like it. Going on to the gunner, what have they changed? Well, they've changed Adrenaline Rush, and on the live server, Adrenaline Rush doesn't kick in until 15%. They have increased that to 25%. So now, when you have 25% or less hit points, you will now hit Adrenaline Rush. It reduces your gun loading time by 5%. Pretty good crew skill all in all. Safe storage is still the same. Intuition is still the same. Perfect charge increases shell velocity by 10%. I can't imagine anything you would take this on except maybe Artie. Other than that, I probably wouldn't take this on anything. So I would just kind of get used to the speed of the velocity of the shells that you have. Close combat. When fully trained, decreases gun loading time by 2.5% for tanks that are within 50 meters or less. I would come back to this one, but I think there is a better, between the Adrenaline Rush and this one, I think there's a better option. Ammo tuning. Basically, increases the minimal potential damage and penetration by 2%. I think this is just a straight damage increase for your tank. I'm not sure if it's actually going to calculate it out to do 2%, but theoretically, I guess it could. But I think this is now the second best crew skill on the tree net past Brothers in Arms. So, what would I take? Let's look at the radio operator. Situational awareness is still here, but pretty much everything else on this tree has changed. Side by side, when fully trained, increases the crew efficiency bonus of 2.5% when you're within 50 meters or less of the same type of vehicle on your team. So, if you're a heavy tank and you're fighting next to heavy tanks, this works. If you're a heavy tank fighting next to a medium tank, this does not give you anything. That's really important when you think about if you're in a light tank or a sniping medium or something and you're not playing next to your teammates. You would not want to take this. If you're like in a heavy tank, you're brawling with very close proximity to your teammates. This is a very good crew skill. Jamming, when fully trained, decreases the time of your vehicle spotted by 1 second. Pretty nice crew skill. Signal interception. Basically, your sixth sense is going to go off 3/4 of a second faster. Communications expert. Okay, be really careful with this one. It does not go into effect till you have till the damage you assist exceeds the initial hit points of your vehicle. So if you took this on a mouse until you did basically 3,300 or 3,000 assisted damage, you are not going to get anything from this screw skill. So you would take this possibly on like a light tank. What does a Manicore have? Like 1,300 hit points, something like that. Um, Basically, after you got 1,300 spotting, then you would have the 2.5% bonus from this crew skill. It's okay. I think it's probably not the best option, but um, let's talk about firefighting. Okay, so this is probably the first time you've seen firefighting, and yes, firefighting is now a radio operator only skill, which means you should take this because now its value is even higher than it used to be because you only have to train it on one crew member. So really good crew skill. As for these two right here, I think these are going to be the two next options that you take. Pretty much, if you're a heavy tank and you're fighting next to a bunch of people of the same tank type, this is what you would take. If you're like a light tank or somebody that's off by yourself, this is probably a better option. So what would be a typical loadout for something like a super conch or a typical heavy, and this is probably mediums as well. Brothers in Arms is going to be pretty much obvious. Recon, you're going to take this on pretty much every commander because view range is paramount. Repairs is going to be very good on every tank. Emergency, if you're a heavy tank, you would take this. If you're a brawling medium, you would probably take this. If you're a sniper, I probably would not take this. I would take something else. Um, Practicality, I really like this crew skill. I think overall this is going to be one of the best commander crew skills because just taking that extra time off your repair kits and stuff can be very important. And sound detection. I think this is going to be a pretty safe loadout for most people. If you're like a sniper or something, you might would take concealment over emergency. Concentration, I just wouldn't take it. But this is pretty much your only two things that I think that will change on nearly every tank build now. Alright, let's look at the gunner right quick. I think for most gunners, you're going to take Brothers in Arms. Snapshot, Deadeye, these are going to be pretty obvious. Sniping tanks, you would take Concealment. Concentration, really good perk skill on just about any tank because most of the time you're firing, you're stationary anyway. This one, just to be careful if taking this crew skill on something that has bad traverse dispersion. So if your tank's pretty good on traverse dispersion, I would take this. If it's not, I would take designated target. That's pretty much going to be every tank. You'll take this on snipers and probably instead of, well, this or something. So, but I think these four crew skills are pretty much the obvious. Brothers in Arms, repairs. Obviously, snipers would take this. Clutch braking, I don't take it on anything. Smooth ride, really good. Other than that, this is going to be really good for tanks that are getting splashed by arty a lot. If you're like me and you're heavy tanks, I always get shot by arty. This is going to be a good crew skill on just about any tank. I would take it over off-road driving as of right now, unless testing comes out to be different. Control impact, your ramming stuff, pretty straightforward. I think if you're kind of following this is probably the least value of all of them. Just keep that in mind. And for the loader, Brothers in Arms, you're going to take ammo tuning. I think this is the next best crew skill. Intuition, if you don't use this, you really need to be working, practicing at it. I show this in a lot of my videos. Really good crew skill. Other than that, I like adrenaline rush. I like repairs. And safe storage would probably be better for me than close combat because getting ammo racked if you have a repair kit not up, that is debilitating. And for the bonus cruise perks, for heavy tank, I think it's going to be situational awareness, side by side firefighting. You can do it in the order that you feel most comfortable with. Situational awareness is probably always going to be a first one, but beyond that, if your tank never gets set on fire, firefighting. If it does, I'd take firefighting next. This is going to side by side and signal interception. You would take this if you're fighting next to people. You would take this if you're more or less off by yourself. Um, that's pretty much going to be a good rundown of these guys. Let me know what you think of these changes in the comments and if you're excited about them and if you disagree with anything I said. So, other than that, I do want to say when I am playing live, I do not play anonymized. So, if you see me in a battle, shoot me a message, say hi. Always like to read those. And you guys have a nice evening.